Hello, this is Noreen Crone-Findlay from Crone-Findlay.com and toddytalkscrafts.com. Now, I'm showing you today how to weave a continuous hexagon on the Lily Speedo Weave loom. And if you go to Crone-Findlay.com and click on the Lily Speedo Weave loom link there, you'll see a book that I wrote that's full of designs for the vintage Lily Speedo Weave loom. It's very neat. toddytalkscrafts.com is my blog, and that's where all the support material for these video tutorials is. So I am just going to stop the camera and take my sign out and get going with the weaving. I'll be right back. So this is the continuously woven hexagon that you will be able to weave. Oh yes, and as soon as I start the video, my dogs come flying out into the studio to say, we're going to participate. Anyhow, this is what the continuously woven hexagon looks like when it's woven on the Lily Speedo Weave loom. Now, the Lily Speedo Weave loom is contributed to by my dogs. It's a fairly sizable one. I've got it set down to its smallest size, but you can this style of weaving you can use with any size of the Lily Speedo Weave loom. Now I've got the loom set up with the points running, two of the points running vertically. And what you're going to do now, I'm going to back up here a bit. Okay, to weave the hexagon continuously on the Lily Speedo Weave loom, you do need to work with a pretty thick yarn, bulky yarn, or multiple strands of sport weight held together because of the spacing of the pegs. They're quite far apart. Now, you're going to need a crochet hook. This is a Tunisian or Afghan hook, and it's about a size 5 millimeters. You can make a weaving hook with a coat hanger bent into shape, and if you do that, then you will need another crochet hook afterwards. You're also going to need a pair of scissors too, and like I said, you're going to need fairly thick, bulky yarn for the continuously woven hexagon. Oh, and do remember, go to my website and to check out the projects woven on the Lily Speedo Weave loom. Now, those ones I did an easier version of the original way of working with the looped process. We're going to the first part of the hexagon. We're going to weave the hexagon in two parts. We're going to weave the first part of it with 2 strands of yarn held together. And this process, this part is very much like weaving on a triangle loom. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to push that one back with my fingers just to get these pegs to sit back a little better to accept the yarn. So what I'm doing is I have the end from the inside of the ball and the end from the outside of the ball held together, and I have taken them both ends around the center top peg, and I'm going to come down to the center lowest peg on the loom, and I'm going to tie a knot. And just to secure it in place. The yarn that I'm using, I was given a bunch of knitting machine yarn, and it's pretty thin, pretty dull. And so what I did was I spun a gazillion strands of it together. Well, not a gazillion, but probably, probably 15 strands together. And then with a strand of sparkly Lurex glitter, and then I spun it S and then doubled it Z. If you're a spinner, you know what I'm talking about. Spun it clockwise and then counterclockwise to ply it. Okay, so I've got my strand tied on here at the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn around the lowest peg, and I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to take my crochet hook, and I'm going to go over the first set of strands, and under the second set of strands, and then I'm going to take it across and loop my yarn around the second peg to the right of the center peg. Now I'm going to come down to the bottom of the loom, and I'm going to loop it over the peg to the right of the center peg. Then I'm going to keep going back up and around one peg to the left of the, just going to unravel a bit more yarn, one peg to the left of the previous set of strands. And you're always going to weave over, under, over, and ignore the last set of strands that you just took up from the lower edge, and place your loop on the peg and coax it down and put it on the lower peg. Then again, up you go. So we're going to work our way across right to the peg that is next to the corner peg. So I think what I'll do to make the video a little bit shorter is I will probably stop the camera but keep weaving this double strand using this method of the continuous weaving. This method is actually adapted from tri-loom weaving, triangular loom weaving. So if you are used to weaving on a triangle loom, then you'll be quite comfortable working with this method. Because of the shape of the hexagon, what we actually have with a hexagon is a rectangle here, topped off by a triangle at the top and a triangle at the lower edge. And so what we're going to do is weave two triangles using continuous tri-loom weaving. Okay, so I wonder if I should do it one more time. Just one more time. Take it to the top, over, under, all the way across. And because I'm using two strands of yarn held together, I am going over two, under two, all the way across, and placing it on the hook, the peg, pardon me, pulling up more length and hoping the dog doesn't take off after the ball of yarn on the floor, and placing that on the lower edge. I'm going to push the yarn into place, and I'm going to now, no puppy, leave that alone. I have a puppy about to take off with my ball of yarn. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera, rescue my yarn, and then weave across to the pegs that are one peg in from the corners. And I'll be right back with those triangles woven. Okay, I'm back. I just wanted, I was going to weave all the way to this peg, the one that is beside the corner peg. I just wanted to show you something. When you're almost to the corner, you're going to find that you can't get, unless you have a really long Tunisian hook, it's hard to get right through to the other side all in one pass. So just go over under the row from the previous row and weave and pull enough yarn to reach the other side. Then make a second pass going over under all the way across. Catch the yarn and place it on the right hand peg, scoot it down, catch it on the right hand peg, and take it and beat it in, and you now have your 2 triangles woven, top and bottom. So I'm going to cut the yarn that is running around from the outside of the ball of yarn and keep the center strand working as my working yarn, because now we're going to switch to a continuous strand weaving that I use on rectangular looms and potholder looms. So I'm just going to get this ready to go, and we're just going to be, we won't be working out to along the corners of the triangles now, because of course they're woven. So we're just going to work straight up through the vertical strands in the rectangular part of the hexagon. And like I said before, you won't have, your hook probably won't be long enough to reach through. So weave over under a bunch of strands, sets of strands. Again, you're weaving over under 2 strands, and now you're going to fold a loop, take your strand across, make it long enough to reach across to the other side, then place that fold onto your hook and keep going over, under, pulling the loop through. You notice I'm just working a few sets of strands at a time. And then I place the loop on the right hand side. I push it down into place, and I'm going to continue going over under, working, I'm going to measure out, there we go, working my way up the loom to the top triangle. And so this will give me the center section of the hexagon, also in continuous weaving. Your loop can be a little longer than the width of the loom, because you can just snug it back, and that's just fine. Once we're finished with the weaving of the vertical section, we're going to crochet around the entire hexagon to lift each loop off of the pegs and to give a clean finished edge. So you'll be able to then stitch. You could use these as placemats on their own, and you can stitch them together to make clothing, afghans, bags, whatever suits your fancy. And you end up with a beautiful hexagon. How about I turn off the camera and I'll finish weaving up to here, and then I'll show you how we work around the edge to finish the hexagon. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've woven all the way up to the last set of pegs at the corners here, and I'm just going to weave in this last row. I have to admit, it took me quite a long time to figure out how to do a continuous weave on the Lily Speedo weave loom. And the reason why I chose to not put this technique into my book on the Lily Speedo weave loom is because it is more limited than the tying off technique in terms of the yarns that you can use, because you do have to work with a very bulky yarn to do the continuous weave. Otherwise it's really, it gives you a really open meshy kind of weave, and I suppose that's okay if that's what you want, but I don't know, it kind of didn't. I kind of held off on showing this until actually a lady on Ravelry said, does anybody know how to do that? And so I went, okay, I will make I'll make this video. Okay, so now we're going to chain off around the outside edge. What I've done is I have inserted my hook. See where I turned the loom. The yarn came out on the left-hand side of the hexagon. I'm going to turn my loop. I've inserted my hook into the loop. I'm going to lift the loop off of the peg and pull a loop through, and I'm just going to keep going around the hexagon, inserting my hook into the loop on the peg. All of the, I just smoked that up. All of the loops, except for the one right-hand side, are all actually captured in the weaving process. But I still, so you only actually need to, technically you just need to chain that side. But I do prefer having a completely chained border around the hexagons. Although what you could do, if you were going to be stitching your loops, your hexagons together, you could chain this into the edge of a previous hexagon. Hopefully that's showing. That's, you know, experiment, see what you like to do. And so that, you know, this is the process that you do to chain it off. Once we have finished chaining down that right hand side where the loops would come all, they would lift off between the layers if we pop them off. Once we have chained the top two edges and down that right hand side, at that point you can lift your hexagon off the loom and just work your chain back around to the starting point, and you don't need to leave it on the loom. But until we've got the loops on the right hand side captured, it's really not a good idea to lift your hexagon off the loom. So I'll just keep this going. Now, not all hexagons are the equal-sided, and this technique does work just fine for hexagons that have the vertical sides longer. If you want to have a placemat that's going to be finished out this way, and it's a kind of an oblong or oval shape, this continuous weaving technique does work just fine for that as well. But you do have to have the longer sides being the vertical sides when you're doing your weaving, because otherwise things go really cattywampus on you. And why make it go peculiar when you don't have to? Okay, just keep nipping along here. Oh, and tarn, t-shirt yarn, and fabric strips work just great whoops, I split my yarn there. That doesn't work at all well when you split your yarn. T-shirt yarn, tarn, and fabric strips work beautifully for the continuous weaving technique. Just make sure you either wind 2 balls or wind a ball that does have a center pull strand and be able to pull a strand from the outside too. So winding just a regular ball of yarn with the yarn at the starting point buried in the middle isn't going to work for you. Okay, here we go. I've worked my way around now to the right hand side. Oh, I didn't do it on the top, but I'm going to show you here just to take an extra 1 or even 2 chain stitches so that it gives a bit more of a point at the corners. So we'll just work along here. And when the loom is in its smallest configuration, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pegs along each side if you do count your corner ones. If it's 9 between the corner pegs if you don't count your corners. But of course, like I said before, you can make your hexagon any size you want. It's always just clumsy as that can be when I'm working on flat on the table like this under the camera, trying to work on the tabletop and stay in camera range, and I'm sitting down below the camera, so at this point I can't see onto the screen of the camera, so I'm just hoping for all our sakes that I have got that in the right place. I'm getting close to the corner of the right hand side, and once you've got that right hand side all chained up and those 11 loops captured, then things can really speed up, because you can then at that point pop it off the loom. And like I said, I'm clumsy because it's really challenging to work at these peculiar angles on the tabletop under the camera, but when you're just weaving with it either held in your lap with the edge up against the table, or with a cushion on your lap, it goes really much more quickly, much more gracefully. I'm going to now lift the hexagon off the loom. And I will finish. I'll show you how you chain your edge once you've lifted it off the loom. What you do is you just take your edge and this probably looks to crocheters like I'm working backwards, because I am working, usually when you're crocheting you'd go that from right to left. The reason why I work from left towards right, even though it looks completely backwards, is because I want to get those loops on the right hand side picked up as quickly as possible so I can get it off the loom. You can see I'm just inserting my hook under the loops. See, the loop has both bars, and so I am going through both bars. This little tuft here is where I tied on at the beginning. So that tells me that I am at a corner. I will untie. because I spun up a whole schwack of really thin yarn to make my thicker yarn, I tie a knot in the ends to keep it from unraveling on itself. And I will, while I'm working with it, but I'll untie that after I finish with the chaining process. So again, I'm going to chain 2, push that little guy out of the way, and just keep working around. You know, you can also chain your edge with a contrasting color of yarn if you prefer. And in that case, what I would do is tie it on at the corner down at the bottom of the right-hand side and work up my right-hand side right at the very start, and then I can lift my hexagon off my loom instantly. So just another way of working. And here I am. This is where I cut my yarn off when I switched from weaving the triangles to the rectangles at the middle. So that tells me I've got another corner here. And now, as I'm working up the side, I just have the single loop to go through up the last left-hand vertical side. So I just slip my hook into it and chain merrily along. This is a really very fast way of weaving the hexagons. The doing the tied version of the hexagons, like I said, the advantage is, okay, I'm going to chain 2 here. The advantage with that is that you can use absolutely any weight of yarn that you want, but it's slower. When you use many strands held together or a super bulky weight, then you get your hexagon much more quickly. I'm going to snip my end. Like I say, I have to tie the ends together or else they will unravel. But I don't mind if that unravels now. I will weave my ends in. If I stitch my my hexagons together, I will be weaving all those ends in as I stitch them. If I use these individually, I will weave them in right now. So there you have it, how to make a continuous woven hexagon. You're actually weaving 2 triangles and a hexagon. So that's how I do it. Other people may have figured this out and may use a different technique, but that's how I do it. So it's Noreen Crone-Findlay at www.Crone-Findlay.com. Happy weaving, go gently, and happy hexagons!